Hey everyone, I wanted to share a story today that came up when I was talking to my challenge groups. So one of the things that we always talk about in our health and fitness challenge groups are the stress, any stress that's going on in your life. It is my personal belief that not only does worry create a lot of unnecessary stress hormones and does affect our health, as we all know, but I also think that any worry that you have spiraling through your head that you're not addressing also then kind of holds us back from being effective in all areas of our lives. So if I'm personally stressed about something and my emotions are running around like crazy in my head, worrying about things that I'm not addressing, it's harder for me to get my workout in. I feel overwhelmed. So it's harder for me to sit down and focus on my work, which means my work takes more time, which means I don't have as much time to get my workout in or to meal prep or other things that I know are healthy for me. But in general, it just slows us all down. So I have another video on my YouTube channel called the Fear Crusher List, which is one tool and technique I kind of made up a few years ago that I use a lot. So I'll link to that video in this video, or you can just check out my YouTube channel. That's one technique I commonly use to deal with any kind of stress. And then I have another video that's, I think it's titled Having Gratitude for Even the Tough Stuff. And any kind of gratitude or prayer or meditation really helps me as well. But the story that I wanted to share with you today is a story that I am borrowing from Eckhart Tolle. And I saw him on Super Soul Sunday with Oprah. They were talking about his book, The Power of Now, which is all about staying present. And it's a story that I heard him tell years ago, but I'm pretty sure I can quote it almost word for word because it just gave such a visual description of what we can do with worry, and it's just stuck with me ever since. So somebody had called in and had asked him, if we're not worrying about anything, if we are just supposed to go about life in the present moment, how do we take care of the normal human responsibilities we have to do? For example, how do we pay the bills? And I loved Eckhart's response because he gave the example of how, as humans, we're the only creatures that actually worry about things. So we bring this future tripping into the mix and all these other meanings that we're giving to things as opposed to just doing what we need to do. So his point was that we can still pay the bills, we can still make money, we can still do what we need to do, but we don't need to bring worry into the equation. So the example he gave was about a squirrel, and a squirrel every fall before winter gathers acorns or nuts and stocks those away for the winter. But the squirrel doesn't worry about that. He just does it. So Eckhart's point was that when we're paying our bills, we can bring a presence to that to help release our worry. So you open a bill, you look at it. Do I have the money in my bank account to pay this? Yes or no? If yes, pay it. If no, is there a phone call I need to make? So what can you do in the now? And if the answer is nothing, the worry serves us in no way. And I see this a lot with my clients, my health and fitness clients, in terms of seeing the other worry in their lives get in the way of other things that they could be doing for themselves. So, and I'm guilty of this too, as we all are. So I think looking for ways to bring a presence to what we're doing and to remember that that worry serves us no good, that worrying about something isn't going to help us be any more prepared for situations that may or may not ever happen. So all we can do is look at, are there any actionable things that we can take care of, yes or no? And if the answer is no, really do our best to release the worry. So in some of the other videos that I mentioned, like the Fear Crusher List, I really talk about getting to the root of the thought so that we know if it's even something worth worrying about. A lot of times I have thoughts that spiral in my head that cause me anxiety or overwhelm, but when I actually sit down and say to myself, what's really bothering me here? What is that root issue? It's really not that big of a deal at all. Oftentimes I can get into a more rational thought process just by acknowledging what it is I'm worrying about. And when I actually say it out loud or write it down, oftentimes it does seem way more unlikely than it did when it was just sitting in the back of my brain causing me stress. So I think that was all I wanted to mention today. Also about another technique that I use a lot is meditating, and we've been talking about this in our groups a lot. So when I either sit down intentionally to think of all these things that are worrying me, and just identifying helps them to sort of release. So I picture this imaginary bucket sitting next to me, and I get them out of my head into this bucket. So I can always look at it later, they're there, but I don't need to be thinking about it right now when I'm sitting down trying to do my work or my workout or whatever it is that I'm attempting to do that I know is good for me. So I think anytime we can sort of meditate and get them out of our heads, or sit down and make a list so it's not in our head taking up that precious mental and emotional energy, that's very helpful for me. So when I meditate, if I'm not specifically doing that, where I'm trying to think of all the things that are worrying me and release them, I'll just sit down and try to clear my mind. And that's nearly impossible for me, but I picture thoughts coming in as clouds that can then leave. So it's not about not thinking at all, but it's just about being willing to release. So this was kind of a scattered video. I'm sorry about that. But just a lot of different things that have been coming up in our groups lately in order to deal with stress and worry and anxiety. I think they take up so much of our time and energy that if we don't sit down and actually do something to address them, they just waste precious energy and precious life force that we have. So like a workout program, dealing with our stress and anxiety and our worry is not necessarily going to change overnight. It requires practice. And it gets easier to implement these techniques as we get better at them. It's taken me a really long time of releasing worry and meditating and doing some of these other techniques to feel like they were effective. They don't work necessarily the very first time you do them, but you get better at them and you learn which of these techniques work best for you. And then the more you implement them, the more results you'll see in your life, just like a workout program. So those are my suggestions. If you have questions, comment below, share this video, and I'd love to hear your feedback because we can always use more tips and techniques for dealing with stress and worry. So I'm sending my love to you, and I hope this was helpful. Talk to you guys later.